Mira stood in front of the house that everyone in the town called haunted. It was tall, dark, and lonely at the end of an old street. The wooden fence around it was broken, and wild grass had grown everywhere. The windows were covered in thick dust, and the door had scratches that looked very old. A cold wind blew through the cracks of the house, making a strange sound that almost felt like a whisper. Mira held her son's hand tightly and took a deep breath. Her son, Arav, looked up at her with wide eyes. "Mama, are we really going to live here?" he asked. His small voice trembled a little. Mira smiled softly. "Yes, Arav, this is our new home." She could hardly believe it herself. Just 1 week ago, she had seen a small notice online that said, "Old house for sale. $1 only. Must live in it." She had laughed at first, thinking it was a joke, but after reading it again and visiting the town office, she realized it was true. The council was selling old houses for almost nothing to bring people back to the area. Mira was a single mother who had lost her job a few months earlier, and this was her only chance to have a real home. The officer who gave her the key had warned her. "That house has a strange history," he said. "No one stayed there for more than a few days." Mira had smiled and said, "I am not afraid of history." Now standing in front of the house, she wished she had asked what kind of history he meant. She walked up the broken steps, the wood creaking under her feet. The main door was large and heavy. She pushed it open, and it gave a long, loud sound that echoed through the empty rooms. A smell of old wood, dust, and damp air filled her nose. The walls were cracked, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling like curtains. The living room was wide, with old furniture covered by white sheets. A tall mirror stood in the corner, but it was so dusty that she could not see her reflection. On one wall hung a large painting of a man in a black coat. His eyes were dark and sharp, and even though it was just a painting, Mira felt like he was staring right at her. Arav moved closer to her. "Mama, he is looking at us." Mira tried to sound brave. "It is only a picture, Arav. Nothing more." She walked around the house, checking every room. The kitchen had an old stove that still smelled like smoke. The cupboards were empty except for a few rusty tins. The floor made soft noises when she walked on it. Upstairs, she found 3 bedrooms. One was very small, and she decided that it would be perfect for Arav. The other 2 were big but dusty. The windows were broken, and birds had built nests in the corners. By evening, they cleaned one bedroom enough to sleep in. Mira placed a small mattress on the floor and lit a candle. There was no power yet, and the water connection was weak. Still, she smiled at her son. "At least it is ours," she said. "No more rent, no more moving every few months," Arav nodded. But he kept looking at the door as if he expected someone to walk in. Later that night, Mira lay awake, listening to the strange sounds of the old house. The wind moved through the cracks in the walls, and sometimes the floor groaned as if someone was walking in another room. She told herself that old houses always made noises. Then she heard a faint metallic sound coming from below. It was like a chain being pulled or a pipe hitting something hard. She sat up and listened again. The sound came from the basement. She had noticed earlier that the basement door was locked with a thick, rusted chain. She walked down the stairs quietly, holding her phone light. The basement door stood at the end of a narrow hallway near the kitchen. The chain was still there, but the lock looked newer than the rest of the door. She touched it gently. It was cold, and when she pulled it, the door made a soft thud from inside. Arav's voice came from behind her. "Mama, what are you doing?" Mira turned quickly. "Go back to bed, sweetheart." "It is nothing." He pointed at the door. "Is something inside?" Mira forced a smile. "Just some old things. Maybe furniture or boxes." But inside her mind, she wondered why the basement was locked when every other door in the house was open. The next morning, Mira met a man from across the street. He was old, with white hair and a calm face. He introduced himself as Ravi and brought her some bread. "I saw lights in the house last night," he said. "You must be the new owner." Mira nodded. "Yes, we just moved in yesterday." Ravi looked at the house with concern. "That place has been empty for many years. The last owner disappeared without a trace. People say the house is cursed, but I think he just ran away." Mira tried to laugh, though her heart felt uneasy. "I do not believe in curses, Mr. Ravi. I only believe in hard work." Ravi smiled faintly. "That is good. But if you ever hear strange sounds, do not go to the basement. My father told me that long ago something was hidden there, something valuable, but everyone who tried to find it went missing." Mira felt a chill but tried to act calm. "Thank you for the warning. I will be careful." Later, while cleaning the kitchen, she found a loose wooden tile near the stove. She lifted it to fix it and saw something shiny under it. It was a small metal key. The key had the letter B engraved on its handle. She held it in her hand and felt her heartbeat grow faster. When Arav came running in, she quickly showed it to him. "Look what I found." "A key," Arav smiled. "Maybe it opens the locked door." Mira looked toward the basement. "Maybe it does," she said slowly. That night, she placed the key on a table beside the basement door. She wanted to open it, but she was too tired and a little scared. She decided to check in the morning. She locked the front door, kissed Arav goodnight, and went to bed. The candlelight flickered as she tried to sleep. Outside, the wind howled softly. Somewhere inside the house, something made a light thump as if a small box had fallen. Mira opened her eyes and listened carefully. Then she saw something that made her freeze. The painting of the man in the black coat, which had been straight earlier, was now slightly tilted to one side. It almost looked like he was leaning closer to watch her. Mira closed her eyes and whispered a small prayer. "It is just my imagination," she told herself. The house fell silent again, but she could not shake the feeling that something deep below them was waiting to be found. The key on the table gleamed faintly in the candlelight, as if it knew what secrets the basement held. The morning sun streamed through the broken windows of the old house, lighting up dust particles in the air. Mira stood in the kitchen, holding the small metal key she had found the night before. Its cold surface felt heavy in her hand, as if it carried more than just the weight of metal. Arav ran around the room, chasing a small ball he had found among the old furniture. "Mama, can we open the basement now?" he asked eagerly. Mira knelt beside him and smiled. "Yes, Arav, but we have to be careful. We do not know what is inside." The basement door stood at the end of the hallway, looking more intimidating in the bright light of morning. The chain still hung across the handle, but the lock now gleamed slightly under the sun. Mira inserted the key carefully. It fit perfectly. She turned it slowly, holding her breath. The lock clicked and the chain fell to the floor with a soft thud. Arav's eyes widened. "Mama, it worked." Mira pushed the door open gently. The basement smelled of damp earth and old wood. The stairs leading down were narrow and steep. Dust floated in the air like tiny clouds disturbed by their movement. She switched on her phone light and stepped carefully, with Arav holding her hand tightly. At the bottom, the basement was much larger than she had expected. Old boxes were stacked along the walls covered in dust. There were shelves with broken jars and tools. A faint trail of footprints in the dust suggested someone had been here recently, though she could not see who. Mira took a deep breath. "We have to look carefully. Be close to me, Arav." They moved slowly through the basement. Most of the boxes contained old papers, books, and broken furniture. But one corner of the basement looked different. The floor there was clean, almost polished, and it had no dust. On it rested a small wooden chest locked with a brass latch. The chest looked new compared to the rest of the basement. Arav's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Mama, what is that?" Mira approached it slowly. The chest was small but heavy. She pushed the latch and it opened with ease. Inside were rows of neatly stacked envelopes, each one thick and filled with papers. The envelopes had gold seals with a strange symbol she did not recognize. Her heart began to race. She picked up one envelope and opened it carefully. Inside were papers that looked like bank statements, legal documents, and old contracts. As she skimmed through them, she realized they detailed large sums of money, property deeds, and even secret accounts. The amount mentioned in one document alone was more than what she could imagine. Arav leaned over. "Mama, how much money is that?" Mira shook her head in disbelief. "It is hard to say, Arav, but it looks like millions." She continued exploring the chest. There were more envelopes, each carefully organized. Some documents showed hidden accounts, secret investments, and valuable properties around the world. It was clear that the last owner of the house had kept this information hidden for many years. Mira could feel her hands trembling. Arav spoke softly. "Mama, should we tell someone?" Mira looked at him and smiled. "Not yet, Arav. We need to understand it first. Then we will know what to do." She spent the next hour carefully examining the documents. Some were written in an old style of handwriting that was hard to read, but others were typed clearly. There were maps of locations, keys to safety deposit boxes, and codes for bank accounts. The chest seemed like a treasure left behind for someone worthy to find. After a while, Mira sat down on the basement floor, holding a stack of papers. Her mind raced. She had never imagined that a $1 house would hold something so valuable. All her worries about rent, bills, and moving from place to place seemed to vanish for a moment. Arav sat beside her, leaning his head against her shoulder. "Mama, does this mean we will never have money problems again?" Mira smiled softly, brushing his hair from his face. "It could help us, Arav, but we have to be smart. We cannot rush into anything." As they examined more papers, Mira noticed a small notebook hidden at the bottom of the chest. It was leather-bound and had a lock, but there was no key. She flipped it open carefully and saw the first page written in neat handwriting. It was a diary, but it was different from ordinary diaries. The entries were about investments, secret accounts, and instructions on how to manage them. One line caught her attention. "The house holds the key to everything, but only the wise will understand its value. Protect it and use it wisely." Mira's eyes widened. The message was clear. Whoever had lived here had wanted the next person to find this treasure carefully, not recklessly. Arav noticed her expression. "Mama, do you think the man in the painting left this for us?" Mira laughed quietly. "Maybe, Arav. Maybe it was meant for someone who could take care of it." They spent the entire day going through the documents. Mira realized that the treasure was not just money. It was a collection of secrets, investments, and properties that could change her life forever. She felt both excited and responsible. By evening, the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the basement. Mira closed the chest carefully and looked at Arav. "We need to keep this safe. Tomorrow, we will start making a plan." Arav nodded. "Can we keep it in our room?" Mira shook her head gently. "No, it is too valuable. For now, it stays here. We lock the door and no one else can come inside." She pushed the basement door closed and turned the key. The chain fell across the handle again. It felt strange to lock it, knowing that a secret worth millions was right behind it. After dinner, Mira and Arav sat in the living room. Mira tried to act normal, but her mind kept returning to the basement. The house no longer felt empty or scary. Instead, it felt like a protector of something important, something that had waited for years to be discovered. That night, as Mira tried to sleep, she thought about the life this discovery could bring. She could pay off her debts, give Arav a better school, and even help others in need. But she also knew she had to be careful. The papers were powerful. People could try to take them if they knew about the basement. Arav slept peacefully beside her, unaware of the plans forming in his mother's mind. Mira lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the next steps. The house creaked softly, but it no longer seemed haunted. Instead, it seemed alive, as if it was holding its secret and waiting for the right moment to reveal more. In the middle of the night, Mira heard a soft knock at the window. She sat up quickly, her heart beating fast. Outside, she saw nothing except the dark garden and the shadows of trees swaying in the wind. She whispered to herself, "It is just the wind." But deep down, she felt that their discovery was only the beginning. The basement had more secrets, and somehow it would guide her to them. Mira made a promise to herself. She would uncover everything, protect it, and use it wisely. The $1 house no longer looked haunted. It now looked like a place full of possibilities, waiting for Mira and Arav to unlock its full story. The next morning, Mira woke up early, feeling a mix of excitement and responsibility. The $1 house no longer seemed like a burden. It had become a place full of hope, opportunity, and secrets waiting to be discovered. Arav, her little son, was already awake, sitting on the small mattress in his room, flipping through a picture book. "Mama, can we go to the basement now?" he asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. Mira shook her head gently. "Not yet, Arav. We need a plan first. We cannot rush into this. There are too many important papers and valuable things in that chest. If someone else knew about them, they could try to take them." Arav frowned. "But I want to see it," Mira smiled. "Soon, Arav. But first we need to make sure it is safe." She went to the kitchen and poured herself a cup of tea. She looked around the house and noticed how much work it needed. The walls needed repair, the windows needed fixing, and the roof was leaking in some places. But for the first time, these tasks did not feel overwhelming. She could handle them. She had to. After breakfast, Mira sat down at the table with a notebook and started writing. She made a list of what they needed to do. First, she needed to organize the documents in the basement. Next, she had to make copies of the most important papers and store them safely. Finally, she wanted to research the accounts and properties mentioned in the documents. While she wrote, Arav played nearby, occasionally looking up to ask questions. Mira explained to him in simple words. These papers are very important, Arav. They can help us live a better life, but we must be careful. Secrets like these are not for everyone. Arav nodded seriously. I will help you, Mama, I promise. Mira smiled at his determination. I know you will, my dear. But for now you can help by keeping this place clean and safe. After breakfast, Mira went outside to explore the garden. The backyard was overgrown with weeds and a few trees had fallen over time. Yet she noticed something interesting. There was a small patch of grass near the back fence that seemed untouched. It was flat and firm, unlike the rest of the yard. She wondered if it had once been a place for something important. She decided to investigate later. For now, she returned to the basement. The chest sat quietly in the corner, waiting for her attention. Mira unlocked it again and took out a few envelopes. She began sorting the papers, separating the ones that seemed most urgent. There were bank statements, property deeds, and instructions written carefully in old handwriting. Hours passed, but Mira did not notice. She was completely absorbed. Every new paper she examined added another piece to the puzzle. She realized the last owner had been very smart. Everything was planned carefully. The chest contained not just money, but secrets about hidden investments, private properties, and safe deposit boxes in different cities. By afternoon, Mira had a plan. She would start by checking the locations mentioned in the documents that were nearest to their town. She would also need to contact some banks and legal offices, but she decided to wait until she fully understood the instructions. For now, organizing and protecting the papers was the most important task. Arav brought her a glass of water. Mama, you are working very hard. Are you tired? Mira shook her head. I am fine, Arav. This is important work. Someday it will help us live a good life. Later, Mira decided to clean the basement. She swept the floor carefully, removing dust and cobwebs. She placed the chest on a clean sheet and made a small area around it. She wanted to create a safe corner where no one could disturb it. She even found an old lockbox in the attic and moved it to the basement. It would serve as a temporary hiding place for some of the most important documents. While cleaning, she noticed a small hole in the wall near the corner where the chest was placed. It was hidden behind a pile of old newspapers. Curious, she knelt down and examined it. It was a narrow opening, just wide enough for her hand. Mira reached inside carefully and felt something hard. She pulled it out and found a small wooden box with a keyhole. Excited, she called Arav over. Look what I found, Arav, another secret box. Arav's eyes sparkled. Do you think there is more money inside? Mira laughed quietly. Maybe, but it could also be more documents or instructions. Let us see later. For now, we will keep it safe. Mira placed the box in the lockbox she had moved to the basement. She decided to find the key later. The house was full of surprises, and each discovery made her heart beat faster. She realized that the $1 house was not just a home. It was a puzzle, a challenge, and a treasure all in one. As evening approached, Mira prepared dinner while Arav played outside in the small patch of grass she had noticed earlier. He laughed as he ran around, his energy making Mira smile despite the long day. She realized that despite the house being old and abandoned, it had given them something priceless: hope. After dinner, they sat together in the living room. Mira could see the excitement in Arav's eyes, and she felt a deep sense of determination. This house had been waiting for them, and she was ready to face whatever came next. That night, Mira could not sleep. She kept thinking about the basement, the chest, and the small wooden box. She wondered why the last owner had hidden so much in one place. What was the purpose? Who had he wanted to find it? Suddenly, she heard a soft sound from the hallway. It was like a floorboard creaking under light footsteps. Mira held her breath and listened. Arav stirred in his sleep but did not wake up. Mira took her phone and shined the light into the hallway. There was nothing there. She sighed in relief. Just the house settling, she whispered. Mira thought about the chest and its contents. She realized that managing this secret would not be easy. There were banks, lawyers, and property papers to check. She would need time, patience, and careful planning. But she also knew that she could do it. She had survived so many struggles before. This was another challenge, but this time it could change their lives for the better. The wind outside blew gently, and for the first time the house no longer felt scary. The shadows seemed softer and the rooms felt warmer. Mira realized that the house was not haunted by ghosts. It was haunted by history, by secrets, and by dreams waiting to be discovered. She made a promise to herself. I will unlock all its secrets. I will protect them and I will use them wisely. This house has chosen us and we will honor it. Mira fell asleep finally with Arav beside her. She dreamed of the basement, the chest, and the small wooden box. In her dreams, the house was alive, guiding her, showing her where the next clue might be and waiting for her courage and wisdom. The next morning, Mira woke up with a new determination. She would start visiting banks and offices, checking the instructions and making a careful list of all the locations mentioned in the documents. She would also find out more about the previous owner. Someone so smart and secretive must have left clues outside the basement too. Arav ran into the kitchen, excited for another day of adventure. Mama, can we play outside today? Mira smiled. Yes, Arav, but first we have important work. We need to take care of our treasure. Arav nodded, understanding that today was special. He had already begun to feel that their new home was more than just a house. It was a place of mystery, adventure, and opportunity. Mira looked around the living room at the creaking floorboards, the broken windows, and the faded walls. She realized that every corner of this house had a story, a secret, and perhaps even a reward. The $1 house was no longer an abandoned place. It was a beginning. She smiled at Arav. Come on, my dear. Today we start our adventure. The $1 house, once empty and lifeless, now felt alive. Its walls seemed to whisper encouragement, and the basement waited patiently for its secrets to be revealed. Mira and Arav were ready, and nothing could stop them from discovering everything hidden inside. The morning sun filled the house with a golden light, making the dust in the air sparkle. Mira woke up feeling excited. Today, she had decided, would be the day she started visiting the banks and offices mentioned in the documents from the basement chest. Arav jumped out of bed with a smile, ready for another day of adventure in their new home. Mama, will we find more secrets today? Arav asked, his eyes shining. Mira laughed softly. Maybe, Arav. We will take it one step at a time. First, we have to understand what we have. After a quick breakfast, Mira took the stack of documents and locked them carefully in the basement chest. She placed the metal key on top, feeling the weight of responsibility in her hand. She had realized that these papers were not just about money. They were a puzzle, a challenge, and a test of her patience and intelligence. Their first stop was the local bank mentioned in the oldest of the documents. Mira carried the papers in her bag and Arav walked beside her, holding her hand tightly. The bank was small but busy. Mira approached the teller with a polite smile. Excuse me, she said. I have some questions about accounts connected to this branch. The teller looked at the papers and called the branch manager. A tall man with glasses arrived, studying the documents carefully. Mira explained that she had inherited the information from the previous owner of a house that had been abandoned for years. The manager's eyes widened as he read the papers. These accounts have been inactive for decades, he said, but they are legitimate. The previous owner was very careful to hide them. If you want, we can start the process to access the information legally. Mira felt a thrill of excitement but kept her voice calm. Yes, please. I want to understand everything before making decisions. Arav tugged at her sleeve. Mama, will we get money today? Mira smiled gently. Not today, Arav. First we learn and prepare. The reward will come later. After leaving the bank, Mira and Arav walked through the small town. Mira noticed things she had never seen before. Old shops with faded signs, narrow streets, and people going about their daily lives. She realized that this house, the abandoned $1 house, had brought her not only opportunity but also a sense of belonging to a place she could finally call home. Next, Mira visited the city office to check on the property deeds mentioned in the documents. The office was crowded, but she patiently waited her turn. When she met the clerk, she explained the situation. The clerk examined the papers carefully. These properties are real, the clerk said. The last owner had investments in different cities. Many of these properties are still registered under his name, but they have been inactive for years. With the right legal steps, you can claim them. Mira nodded, feeling a mixture of amazement and responsibility. The previous owner had left a fortune, but it was hidden behind careful planning and secrecy. Mira understood that if she was careless, the treasure could be lost forever. Returning home, Mira felt a new sense of determination. She decided to start a notebook to organize everything. She labeled each document, wrote notes about which bank or office it belonged to, and created a small map of the properties. Arav sat beside her, watching with interest and occasionally asking questions. "Mama, what if someone else finds the house?" he asked. Mira paused. "We will keep the secret safe, Arav. No one else will know about it. This is our treasure, and we have to protect it." In the afternoon, Mira decided to check the small patch of grass in the backyard that had seemed special to her. She remembered noticing it when they first moved in. The soil was firm and undisturbed. She knelt down, brushing aside leaves and small rocks. After a few minutes, her fingers touched something hard buried beneath the soil. She carefully dug it up and found a small metal box, locked with a tiny padlock. Her heart raced. "Arav, come here. Look what I found." Arav ran over, eyes wide with excitement. Another secret. Mira examined the box. It was old, but the lock was strong. She tried the key from the basement, but it did not fit. Mira smiled thoughtfully. "This is another puzzle, Arav. We will find the key later. For now, it stays safe." They carried the box inside and placed it on the kitchen table. Mira realized that the previous owner had left multiple layers of secrets. Each discovery seemed to lead to another. She felt a mix of excitement and respect. Whoever had lived here had planned carefully, making sure that only someone clever and patient could uncover everything. That evening, Mira returned to the basement to check the chest one more time. She organized the envelopes and placed the important documents in the lockbox she had moved there earlier. Arav followed her, holding a small flashlight. "Mama, do you think we will find more secrets?" he asked softly. Mira smiled, feeling the same excitement. "I am sure we will, Arav. This house has many stories to tell. We just have to be patient and smart." After locking the basement, Mira sat in the living room with Arav. She felt proud of herself for taking the first steps toward understanding the treasure hidden in the house. The $1 house was no longer just a place to live. It was a puzzle, a challenge, and an adventure. That night, Mira could not sleep. Her mind wandered to the metal box she had found in the backyard. Who knew what it contained? Perhaps more money, or maybe even clues about the hidden accounts and properties. She imagined the previous owner, a clever man who had hidden a fortune and waited for someone worthy to find it. The wind outside blew gently, rustling the old trees around the house. Mira felt a connection to the house now, as if it was guiding her, showing her the way to the next discovery. She whispered softly, "Thank you for trusting me." The next morning, Mira decided to visit one of the properties mentioned in the documents. It was an old building in the city, registered under the previous owner's name but long abandoned. She took Arav with her, holding his hand as they explored the dusty corridors and empty rooms. In one of the rooms, she found an old safe hidden behind a wooden panel. The safe had a combination lock, and she remembered the notes she had made from the basement chest. Carefully, she tried the numbers written in the envelopes. To her amazement, the safe opened, revealing stacks of envelopes similar to the ones in the basement chest. Mira's heart raced with excitement. She had found a hidden property with more secrets. The previous owner's planning was extraordinary. Every step she took revealed another piece of the puzzle. She realized that the $1 house had not only given her a home, but also a path to a fortune that required wisdom, patience, and courage. Mira understood that she had to be careful, follow the clues, and protect the discoveries. Returning home, Mira felt more determined than ever. The house no longer seemed haunted. It felt alive, full of energy and secrets waiting to be uncovered. Arav ran to the backyard, playing near the small patch of grass where the metal box waited. Mira watched him and smiled. She knew that tomorrow would bring more discoveries. The treasure hidden in the $1 house was just the beginning. With careful planning, courage, and patience, she and Arav could uncover every secret and protect it. The $1 house, once abandoned and feared, had become a place of hope, mystery, and adventure. Mira felt proud to call it home, and she knew that the best was yet to come. The morning sun shone brightly through the cracked windows of the $1 house, filling the rooms with warm light. Mira woke up feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Today she planned to uncover the most important secret the basement held, the final treasure hidden by the previous owner. Arav was already awake, bouncing on his small mattress, full of energy and curiosity. "Mama, can we check the metal box in the backyard today?" he asked eagerly. Mira smiled. "Yes, Arav, but we have to be careful. We do not know what is inside. It may be the most important secret of all." After breakfast, Mira took Arav's hand and they went to the backyard. The metal box lay hidden in the patch of firm grass, waiting patiently for discovery. Mira brushed away leaves and dirt and carefully examined the lock. She tried the small key from the basement again, and this time it fit perfectly. The lock clicked open. Arav's eyes widened in amazement. "Mama, it worked!" Mira lifted the lid slowly. Inside were stacks of envelopes, bundles of papers, and a small leather folder. The folder had a golden emblem on the cover, matching the symbol she had seen on the envelopes in the basement chest. Mira carefully opened it and found a series of documents that revealed the full extent of the hidden treasure. The documents detailed accounts, properties, and investments all over the world. When Mira calculated the total value, she could hardly believe her eyes. The treasure was worth $50 million. It was more than she had ever imagined, and it was all hidden carefully by the previous owner in the basement and surrounding properties. Arav gasped. "Mama, $50 million. That is so much money." Mira smiled but remained calm. "Yes, Arav, but we have to be very careful. This is not just money. It is responsibility. We have to protect it and use it wisely." She spent the morning going through the papers carefully. There were instructions for accessing hidden bank accounts, property deeds, and secret safety deposit boxes in different cities. The previous owner had left no detail unattended. Every account, every property, and every code was recorded in a way that only a careful and intelligent person could understand. Mira realized the genius of the plan. The previous owner had wanted someone trustworthy to find this treasure. He had hidden it behind puzzles and locked boxes, testing patience and attention to detail. Mira felt honored that she had been chosen to uncover it. After organizing the documents, Mira decided to make a plan for the next steps. First, she would visit the nearest bank to secure the accounts. Next, she would hire a lawyer to help transfer the property deeds and ensure everything was legal. Finally, she would check all the hidden safety deposit boxes. Each step required careful preparation, but Mira felt confident. She had already proven to herself that she could handle challenges. Arav helped her by sorting some of the papers into smaller bundles. "Mama, we make a good team," he said proudly. Mira hugged him. "Yes, Arav, together we can do anything." That afternoon, Mira visited the local bank mentioned in the documents. The manager greeted her warmly, clearly impressed by her careful approach. With her paperwork in order, she was able to access accounts that had been inactive for decades. She found large sums of money safely stored and ready to be used legally. Every transaction she made was precise, following the instructions left by the previous owner. Returning home, Mira felt a sense of accomplishment. The $1 house no longer seemed like an abandoned building. It was a place of opportunity, intelligence, and hard work. The basement and the backyard had revealed secrets that could change their lives forever. The next few days were busy. Mira hired a lawyer to handle the property deeds and verify ownership of the various properties around the country. She visited hidden safety deposit boxes, following the codes and instructions in the documents. Each time she opened one, she found more money, valuable papers, and small treasures carefully preserved. Mira realized that the previous owner had truly been brilliant in hiding the fortune, and she respected the care he had taken. Meanwhile, Arav explored the house and garden, imagining adventures in every corner. He played near the small patch of grass in the backyard, unaware of the scale of the treasure they had uncovered. Mira often smiled at his innocence and joy, remembering that the $1 house had not only brought them wealth, but also a sense of stability and happiness. One evening, Mira sat in the living room with all the important documents and papers spread out around her. She thought about the journey they had taken from the day they first entered the house. It had seemed haunted, abandoned, and scary. Now it was full of life, hope, and opportunity. She realized that the house had tested her patience, intelligence, and courage. She had passed every test. Arav came running in, holding a small notebook. "Mama, I wrote down all the secrets we found so far," he said proudly. Mira took the notebook and read it carefully. Arav had remembered the important details about the basement chest, the metal box in the backyard, and the hidden properties. She smiled, realizing that even a small child could understand the importance of careful work and organization. "Mama, can we keep the house safe forever?" he asked softly. Mira hugged him. "Yes, Arav, we will keep it safe. This house will always be our home, and we will protect its secrets." Over the next week, Mira made a final list of all the accounts, properties, and hidden treasures. She ensured that everything was organized, legal, and secure. The $50 million treasure was now fully documented, ready for legal use and completely protected. Finally, Mira sat in the backyard looking at the small metal box and the patch of grass where it had been buried. She felt a deep connection to the house. It had chosen her, tested her, and rewarded her for her patience and careful work. She realized that wealth was not only measured in money but also in courage, intelligence, and the ability to protect what was important. Arav sat beside her, holding her hand. "Mama, we did it. We found all the secrets." Mira smiled, looking at the house around them. "Yes, Arav, we did it together. This house gave us a home and it gave us a treasure. But most importantly, it gave us confidence and hope." That evening, Mira decided to celebrate in a simple way. She cooked a special meal with Arav, using the small kitchen in the old house. They ate together in the living room, laughing and sharing stories about the discoveries they had made. The house no longer felt abandoned or haunted. It felt alive, welcoming, and full of memories. As night fell, Mira tucked Arav into bed. She looked around the living room, at the clean floors, the organized papers, and the small candle flickering on the table. She whispered softly, "Thank you for trusting me." Mira lay down beside Arav and closed her eyes. She knew that the house had more stories to tell, but now she was ready. She had uncovered the $50 million secret, secured the treasure, and most importantly, she had shown courage, patience, and intelligence. In her dreams, the house seemed alive, guiding her toward new adventures, promising more secrets to those who were careful and brave. The $1 house had transformed their lives forever. It had given them safety, wealth, and a sense of belonging. Mira knew that she and Arav would honor the house, protect its secrets, and cherish it for the rest of their lives. The $1 abandoned house, once thought to be haunted, had become a home of wonder, opportunity, and lasting happiness. Mira had turned fear into hope, mystery into discovery, and emptiness into a treasure. She held Arav close, feeling proud, content, and ready for every adventure that life might bring. The secret was no longer hidden. The $50 million treasure was theirs, but the true treasure was the courage, love, and determination they had discovered within themselves. Mira smiled and whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning." The $1 house had given them more than money. It had given them a future filled with hope, security, and endless possibilities. And in that moment, Mira knew that they were finally home.